Hi everybody, this is Tor Storley and I am back with another video. So in this video, we're going to be looking at how to obtain data using Yfinance, which has a lot of capabilities that I actually am surprised I used it before, but I didn't know about all the possibilities that are there if you use Yfinance. It's a very extensive library, and you can go against Yahoo Finance to get stock data, you can get market data, etc. So in this video, I will show you how to retrieve data, a lot of data from Yahoo Finance using Yfinance. And then after that part, once we get the data, we will take the data, we will use Jupyter Notebook to load the data. We will get all the tickers that we need from Wikipedia, which is maintained frequently. And then we will go against Yahoo Finance to get stocks we're looking for. And then we will take the results of what comes back from Yahoo Finance and we will put it into a DuckDB database. And then after that, we're going to use that data in DuckDB to do a different analysis for a couple of future videos that is coming up. So right now, I want to go through how you can retrieve the data and put it into a DuckDB database using Yahoo Finance. So I created this Get Dow Jones Industrial Average IPython notebook, which is Jupyter Notebook or Iron Python in the past. And I added some cells to it, and some of the code is pretty long. As you can see, I'm importing Yfinance. I'm importing DuckDB. I'm importing pandas. And then I'm going to actually, from typing, I'm going to import dictionary, list, and optional. Now, I don't know if it's totally necessary to import this like this or if it just be recognized. But anyways, here it is. And I'm going to also import logging. So in case there is warnings or errors, etc., we can print it out to output cells. I'm going to import requests because I have to go against the internet. I'm going to use Beautiful Soup to get data from the internet, in particular from Wikipedia. Now, my reference, as you can see, is set to my DuckDB virtual environment. And you can see here, you can choose all kinds of environments here. And I'm sitting on this DuckDB environment. Let me just restart so we get a clean start. You can see down here, it's redoing it. And let's also remove any output. Well, it looks like all of it has been removed. All right, so let's run this first cell. Let's get the libraries we need. Now, the next thing I want to set up is logging. As you can see here, the level I'm looking for is at the info level, basic config. And then I'm setting up the logger for Python logging. All right, so that's done. Now, this next code here will go against Wikipedia. And as you can see, it's quite descriptive. So it will go and get all the tickers from Wikipedia, and it's going to return a list, okay? This is the URL you're going to need and if you want to go and look yourself. And one thing we can do, we can follow this link. And if you do, you're going to end up here. And as you can see down here, what I'm really looking for is this symbol column inside this web page. So here we are. And also, just to be sure, I'm going to include the headers. Then I'm setting up an empty list object here. And then I'm using a try-catch block. And as you can see, I'm going to request from that URL, passing in the header, setting some timeout here so it doesn't drag out. And again, I'm going to check for status code, setting a instance of the Beautiful Soup like this, the parser, and also looking for a table that's going to be loaded into this variable. Then if it exists, if I find that table, if it's not empty or doesn't exist, for each row in that table, I'm going to look for the body. And I'm going to look for all the TRs or the rows of that table. I'm going to find all the table headers and the table cells, the TDs. Okay, this is HTML syntax. Those are the columns. Then I'm going to say, hey, if the number of columns are greater than 2, then I'm going to load number 2 column or the third column if you use an index of 0. So that would be the symbol column. And then you're going to find whatever this search term is. Basically, then it's just going to append it to that list. And then if there's some problems, then you do this part, return an empty list like this if you can't find anything, or If there's some exception, you return this, etc., etc. So let's run that cell and see if we can get some tickers back. And it did. We don't know exactly what happened, but we'll find out shortly. Now, this is the piece of the code that is quite long, and I will not dwell on this too much because you can go on my GitHub repository and get this code yourself, and you can analyze it. But basically, you're building a basic class called Lynch Stock Analyzer. It's basically a connection to DuckDB here, and also you just set up the database like this. So these are inside the self keyword, and here you can see setup database, which is this piece, right? Passing in the class itself, the instance of the class. You're going to be creating a table, and here is the create table statement. In most cases, just so you're aware, I made all these double. If you make decimal or something, you're going to have problems when you load the data. But by making it double, it will adhere to a float version of data that's coming back from the JSON from Yahoo Finance. So anyways, I called this table Lynch Metrics. We'll look at this a little more once we get the output, etc. Notice this last column, it's a timestamp, so it's a current timestamp. Also, we connect to DuckDB like this by referring to the class. This is all inside that class, by the way. All these functions are inside the class. So you're referring to the class itself. So we're going to call that function here. We're going to execute, we're going to log it, etc. And then there's some additional function here, like extract the Lynch metrics, okay? And if you look at that, you can see that we're looking for a ticker data that's going to be a form of a dictionary. So it's going to be key value pair right here. And that's going to come from the Yfinance data that's coming back, which is a JSON file. And therefore, we use a dictionary object. So we're going to try to get the keys that is coming later here in the main function. And we're building this object here that is the core information. There's tons of information in that info JSON file. And here we're setting up a dictionary called metrics. So you have symbol is the key, and then we say safe get is whatever the result of the info is. And then we're looking for specific keys here, as you can see, to fill this. So that's what all this data here is doing. And then we're going to return that metric. And then you're going to call another function further down here that's going to fetch and store the Dow Jones Industrial data. And we're going to store it inside the DuckDB. So here we're calling one of these functions that's going to get the tickers, which is from the Wikipedia. And then if we don't find any, we want to just exit gracefully. So we use the system import we did on top, and we just exit it gratefully so we don't continue the code. If not, we're going to say, hey, it was successful, print some of the stuff here, and then execute the delete from this table, and then we're going to start inserting a bunch of stuff here, as you can see. So we're going to log it. Hey, we're going to process. This is the call to the Yahoo Finance. Then by using this function ticker and passes in the ticker statements for each of those 30 tickers inside the Dow Jones, we need the info for each one. And this one has a lot of info. There's a lot of metrics here. And in case you wonder what it looks like, let's see if I can show you. So if you want to look at this file, for example, you can see this is a file here. So as you can see, there is a bunch of information up front there. There's a bunch about these executives, as you can see here. And if you keep scrolling down, you're going to start seeing a bunch of metrics down here. And there's a lot of information in here, as you can see. So as you can see, there's like 255 lines of return information. All right, so that's what that one is producing. And then we're going to load the metrics. So we're going to pass in that whole info and extract from it only those fields we want by using this function, as you saw above, where I created that dictionary. And here I'm testing some stuff. I don't need to do it here, by the way. I'm not going to go through this here, but this is just basically giving me an output whether or not, based on this PEG ratio, which is the price to earnings to growth ratio. If that is under 1, then that's a candidate. So, but in this case, it will tell you whether or not that happens. And that's what this is doing here. And then it's going to just call other functions here, like inserts, like this, into that DuckDB table. This one is going to look for Lynch candidates that based on his valuation criteria, which one is actually qualifying for it. But for now, ignore all this stuff. This is just bringing data back from that DuckDB table that is going to determine whether or not these are candidates for this evaluation, finding undervalued stocks, okay? So here you can see you execute that query we just have here to find the Lynch candidates right here. And then we're closing the connection to DuckDB here. And this is the main function in Python you might recognize if you have this. So here we're setting a reference to the class up there, here this database in DuckDB, and we call it analyzer. From there, we're going to be calling different functions that you saw that I just went through, like this one, like export to CSV, like this one, get the candidates, etc., etc. All right, so there's quite a bit of code in that one. So let me just run it quick. And I went through most of it, but there's always details you can look at yourself. But you kind of know what it's doing here. It's going to run for a little bit because it has to get the data. It has to put into the tables, etc., etc. And you can see here it starts printing out. It says, getting the Dow Jones Industrial Average stock data. Okay, it finds 31. The reason it finds 31 is because one of these returns are blank. It comes back just like the symbol, which is a blank record. These are the ones we care about, the ones that actually has tickers, as you can see. So anyways, you can see it's going through. It successfully processed 31 stocks, and you can see this is the info message because I'm using the logger info as the default. And as you can see here, it also comes back with some kind of descriptor of which one is, if there's any candidates, and it didn't find any. All right, so now what we want to do, we want to just take a quick look at what's sitting inside the DuckDB. By the way, that DuckDB database is created right here, as you can see, Lynch Analysis DB. So that's why I can call it directly like this inside this project. So I create a connection, execute this, select everything from this Lynch metrics table, but I want to remove that 131 column that was blank, where the symbol is actually blank. So it's going to bring 30 back. And here you can see it returns it as a data frame because that's what I specified right here. Here is an output of what comes back from that table. So there's 30 records in here. Actually, yeah, there's 30 records in here. And the one I'm interested in is Amazon, AMZN, okay? Like that. So if you scroll across here, you can see here is all these different metrics. So you have current price, you have PE, price to earnings, forward price to earnings. You have the price to earnings to growth ratio, earnings growth estimate, and revenue growth. And we'll talk about some of these ratios here and why they are important to our evaluation. But now that we got the data in the DuckDB database, we're right there. Now, another thing we can do too is you can see what's in that info object by doing this. So set up some kind of ticker, refer to your Yahoo Finance reference to that import statement above, this one right here. Once you got a reference to that, then you can simply pass an A ticker, which is the Amazon, and then you say, based on that object, get the info like this, and then print it out. So when you do, you can see here, it went to the internet and it got all this data back. And as you can see, there's a lot of data, so it cuts it off. But one thing you can do is click this text editor, and notice over here you can see here there's quite a bit of text, 251 lines of information here. So when you scroll through this, you see what I showed you before in the Notepad++ file. And here you can see is all these numbers we're looking for. Okay? All right, so that's that one. And finally, if you care about growth estimates, in Yahoo Finance, there's different sections of the web page that holds different references. One thing you might find is this one. And as you can see here, these are growth estimates for like 1 year ahead, 14.5%. This index, I think, is referring to a stock index, not the actual stock. So this will be the Amazon 1 year growth estimation. Okay, so we got it started now, and we got the data in DuckDB database, and now we're ready to continue. Okay, I think we leave it at that. I hope you liked this video, and if you do, please give me a like and consider subscribing to my channel. It'd be fantastic. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.